What is up, people of YouTube? I'm your host, Vernon. This is Lake Mead. Let's talk about that. Alright, ladies and gents, today's video is going to be a bit different. It's not me going out there fishing. No, rather today's video is a video requested by some of my viewers. And that request simply is, what is my top lures for fishing here at Lake Mead? Now, this is a strange one to me because most of the fish I catch tend to be on baits, but I do use quite a lot of lures out there as well. And to complicate things a bit further, I know that lures, sometimes they fall out of fashion. Some work pretty well for a while, but as soon as everyone starts using them, they don't work anymore. But I do kind of understand. I mean, going to a tackle shop, you have a wide variety of lures to choose from. Narrowing it down to a few might help you get on some fish. And one more little confusing thing, when we're talking about lures, are we talking about lures for bass? Are we talking about lures for stripers? Maybe some lures for crappie? There are a wide variety of different lures, so it might be difficult to narrow it down, but I think considering all things, putting it all together, I can make a list of my top 5 lures to use here at Lake Mead. Alright guys, let's start off with what I think is the most obvious one, and that would be worms. Now, whether that's some wacky rig Sanko, or maybe a little shaky head, or even a Ned rig, worms work for both smallmouth and largemouth bass. Now, these tend to work better during spring and summer, but they work year round. You can catch any bass at any time using any little worms, and I think the key here is a light setup and a slow moving presentation on the bottom. As far as the color selection, I've been having quite a lot of good luck on something purple, pink or blue, but seeing as how Lake Mead is a super clear lake, your more natural colors, some watermelons also work well. And there are a lot of guys that swear that black or black and blue still work. I haven't had any luck on that, but people do catch them on all sorts of colors, and that might be the key, just having a few colors that you can swap out and find the one the fish are keyed in that particular moment. And there we go guys, on the little shaky head. Got a nice big bass. See if we can land him. And there we are guys. Nice big bass with the shaky head still in his mouth. Quickly want to get this guy on a lip grip, get a measurement of him, and off he goes. Alright guys, next on the list is going to be some lipless cranks, and with this I want to add in blade baits as well. Blade bait is a lot smaller, but they have the same kind of action, and the blade bait can go deeper, good for during winter. But these little search and destroy lures, great for finding fish. Of course, all 3 bass species will go for this as well. Again, colorings are important, some shad imitations, maybe some bluegill imitations as well, but mostly shad work pretty well here for Lake Mead. And the great thing about these, you can cover quite a lot of water. If you're trying to figure out where the fish are, you can make quite a lot of casts, straight retrieve, quite a good way to find the fish. Now, of course, a lot of lures aren't made the same. Some manufacturers have a different way of doing things, but when it comes to a lipless crank, I feel they all work pretty well. No matter whether it's a cheap one or an expensive one, they seem to find the fish. Alright guys, next lure on the list is going to be some topwater lures. Topwater lures work pretty well during summer, but here at Lake Mead they work year round, especially if there's some boils happening. But even without any boils, I've had some bass follow some of my poppers, but generally speaking, some glide baits, something you can walk the dog with, tends to work pretty well, as well as poppers and ploppers. All sorts of topwater lures seem to work pretty well here at Lake Mead, especially for stripers, largemouth bass, and even smallmouth bass. And of course, color matters. Here at Lake Mead, the main bait fish are shad, so whites and silvers seem to do the trick. So if I can only have 5 lures, one of them will definitely be a little topwater lure.
There we go guys, finally got a little bass on the topwater on my little Zara spook. I've been getting quite a lot of hits from these guys. They keep slamming it. This is the first one I actually hooked with both hooks. So these largemouth bass, they're on the fringes of these bait balls. As soon as they see a fish that's injured, they love hitting it. That's why they go for the topwater lures.
Okay, so on to our fourth one, and this one might be a little bit controversial, and that is because this category is spinners. Now, of course, in this category I'm talking about normal little blade spinners, as well as something like a chatterbait. It's a great way to find fish. Again, you're covering lots of water, it's noisy, it draws fish in. But the one I want to include with this is inline spinners. Normally we tend to think of inline spinners for something like trout fishing, but here at Lake Mead, inline spinners can save the day. An inline spinner somehow just gets the reaction out of that fish. If the other lures aren't working, swap over to an inline spinner, and most likely you will get those fish.
Alright guys, tiny little largemouth bass. Let's get him back into the water.
Alright, and that brings us to our last one, and this one might not be a big surprise, but this is going to be craws and craw imitations. Now, these tend to work better for largemouth and smallmouth bass, and they're a great way to find fish, especially during spring when they're up on beds. Some craws through the beds might get a reaction out of them, and whether that be some football jigs with craw trailers, or maybe just a Texas rig little craw. Again, slow, finessey presentation works for these fish. Now sadly, this is the one category where I don't have a little clip to show you guys. Before I started making YouTube videos, I actually managed to hook a 5-pound largemouth bass using a little Texas rig craw. But whilst trying to land that fish, he spit the lure and I lost him. Since that day, I've not caught any fish using a craw, but there are tons of people out here that swear by them and do catch quite a lot of bass using craw imitations. And it seems the smaller presentations get the smallmouth and the bigger ones get the largemouth. So even though I don't have a clip to show you guys, you at least know that this is something I do have in my tackle box, and I'm going to be throwing it out there constantly, trying to see if I can get any bass. Alright ladies and gents, please do understand that when I'm saying these are my top 5 lures, I don't mean that these are the 5 best lures. There are a lot of great lures out there. I mean, something like a glide bait can get you some big fish, or maybe trawling an 8th frame, you'll get some fish like that as well. No, these are the top 5 lures for us bank anglers. These are the 5 lures that I have the most confidence in, that I know people are catching fish on. So I think these are the top 5 that will get you on some fish when fishing Lake Mead. Now, of course, do also understand that I'm no professional. I'm just a normal guy doing some fishing, sharing my experiences with you. So if you're someone watching that's a lot more experienced than me, please feel free to go down in the comments and give some suggestions to people as well, what lures to use. Now, I do know these type of videos don't get as many views, and I understand it's the holidays, it's time to spend with your family, but maybe consider sharing this video with some of your friends or family, and maybe you might just get some belated Christmas gifts. And I know this is a very strange type of video, but please do give me a little thumbs up telling me that you enjoyed it. And also feel free to write any comments, ask any questions down there as well. If you've not yet subscribed to the channel, consider doing so, hitting the big red subscribe button, joining my community. Alright guys, but thank you for spending some time with me, and like always, I'll see you next time.